Welcome to this video, which provides instructions for submitting intake information as part of the Stabilization Services Program. If you have not already watched our introductory overview video, we recommend that you watch that one first. As a provider, there are two primary evaluation tasks that need to be completed at the time a family enters stabilization services: submitting an intake form and completing an evaluation consent form with the family. This video focuses on completing and submitting the intake form. We understand that not all families who are referred will enter stabilization services. However, an intake form should be completed for every child referred to stabilization services, regardless of whether or not they actually enter services. Sometimes more than one sibling is enrolled in stabilization services at the same time. A separate intake form should be completed for each child or youth that is enrolled in stabilization services, even if they have another sibling in the program at the same time. You can find a copy of the intake form on the evaluation resource page, along with a guide that provides more detailed instructions if needed for all of the questions that are required by the funder, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. When you open the intake form, you will see some comments in red. These are instructions for you and are not intended to be read aloud to the family. You will also see that the document is set up as a fillable Word document. We'll talk about submitting the intake form shortly, but note that you will have the option to complete the form on paper or electronically and then upload the copy for us, or you can just enter information directly into our database. The questions are the same either way. At the beginning of the document, you will provide the youth name, their ID number, and their date of birth. You will also provide the name of your agency as well as your name. Providing your name allows us to contact you if we have any questions or need any clarification about what you provided. The next section of the form is titled Referral/Intake Information. This section should be completed for all families, including those who do not enter stabilization services. In this section, you will provide the date that the family was referred to your agency and the date when you first attempted contact with the family. One of the fidelity expectations for stabilization services is to contact the family within 3 days of the referral. In the next question, you will indicate whether this contact happened within 3 days based on the dates you provided above. While 3 days or less is the goal, we know that sometimes this does not happen. If the initial contact occurs more than 3 days after the referral, please provide an explanation of the reason why. The next question asks whether or not the family entered stabilization. If they did enter services, please provide the date of the initial meeting that you have with the family. This means the actual face-to-face meeting, rather than a call to offer resources or schedule the meeting. We would also like to know if this meeting happens at the family's preferred time and location, and if not, why not? If the family does not enroll in services, please provide the reason here. For families who did not enroll, this is all of the information that we need, and you can go ahead and submit the form. If the family did enroll, you will complete the remainder of the intake form. The form is divided into 2 sections. The first section is filled out by you as the provider, based on information given to you by the family response staff. This section is used to provide the youth assessment results that are conducted during the family response phase. The first question in this section asks if the youth has been screened or assessed for trauma. The Crisis Assessment Tool, or CAT, completed during the family response phase of treatment counts for this, so the answer to this question will typically be yes. If the answer to this question is no, please tell us why. If the answer is yes, please indicate whether the screen was positive. You will also share the results of any completed suicide screening, which the crisis assessment tool also assesses. So you will consult the CAT results under suicide risk to answer this question. The third question asks about the family's role in defining the issue that they want to work on in stabilization services. There is a long section that follows regarding behavioral health diagnoses. You or other staff at your agency do not need to complete a diagnostic assessment. If you are aware of assessments that have been previously completed, or if you have results shared from another agency, that is fine. If a diagnostic assessment has not been completed, please select the reason why not. If it has, you will indicate up to 3 diagnoses that emerged from the assessment. For the list of options that is above the table of diagnoses, you should only make a selection there if the child does not have any diagnoses. Please do not write any diagnosis in this list or above the table. If they have a diagnosis, please select the appropriate ones from the table. The remainder of the intake form is intended for you to complete with the family as an interview. When you are meeting with the family for the first time, it may or may not work to gather information from them. You may be more focused in the initial meeting on building rapport or providing immediate support to the family. The intake materials need to be completed and submitted within 7 days of your initial meeting with the family. So if you want to complete the paperwork at a follow-up meeting with the family, that is fine, so long as you are still within that 7-day window. The family interview includes 6 sections. The first includes demographic information for the youth and the family. Please note that in these questions, as well as those that follow, the family can decline to answer any question. If they are not comfortable answering a question, simply indicate that they refused to respond to that question. Choosing not to respond to a question is their right. Try to make them feel comfortable and encourage their participation, but do not pressure them to share information that they are not comfortable sharing. Some questions, such as those addressing race and ethnicity, allow for multiple responses, so mark all that apply for the youth or family. Some questions may not apply to a specific youth or family. As an example, question 6 asks about youth enrollment in the armed forces, and this is only asked for youth age 16 or older. If the youth you are working with is younger than age 16, simply mark this question as not applicable. Response choices that are written in capitals, such as refused or not applicable, should not be read to the family, but you can use them whenever needed. The next section is called functioning and includes a variety of questions related to how things are currently going for the youth and the family. Some questions are formatted as a grid, such as this one. For these, please read each of the questions separately. For example, you would ask, during the last 30 days, my child is handling daily life, and have the parent respond with a yes or a no. Then you would ask them the next question. During the past 30 days, my child is able to deal with unexpected events in their life. This section is followed by other sections related to stability and housing, education and employment, crime and criminal justice status, and social connectedness. Many of the questions throughout the intake form are set up to require yes or no responses. The questions can be complex and hard to answer in terms of just a simple yes or no. If parents are having trouble, encourage them to select whichever response is more true for them, or true more than half of the time. On the evaluation resource page, you will see 2 options for submitting the intake information. Your first option is to complete the fillable form and then upload the completed document. If you prefer, you can also enter the responses directly into this online form. Either option is fine, so use whichever one is easiest for you. Before submitting the intake form, however, please look over it to ensure that you did not miss any relevant questions and that the selection for each question reflects the caregiver's responses. All stabilization providers have access to an online dashboard that includes all of the intake information. If you do not have access to this information, let the evaluation team know and we can provide you with access. You can look at the results in aggregate form or limit the view by date. Information is available in the dashboard for all agencies combined, as well as for each agency separately. If you have any questions about the intake process, feel free to reach out to the evaluation team, and we're happy to help. Thank you.